Good morning, good morning, good morning. And as I look out at all the lovely faces of God, I really feel inspired to to really reflect on what it is we have in this thing called life. This thing that is sometimes elusive, that's sometimes troublesome, that's sometimes joyous, but all the time good. And so I just want to say thank you for being here. Good morning and welcome to CSL Denver, a place, a space, and a face of love, a spiritual community teaching ancient wisdom and utilizing universal principles to empower our lives and the lives of others. And what's more important than that today, than to empower our lives and the lives of others? Now, I trust everyone had a glorious and grand Thanksgiving, and we were able to take a moment, not like me, and I ate something that, yeah. So I hope you didn't have that, but I hope you had a time with family and friends, and the ability in some moments to get quiet with yourself and be thankful and be gracious and give gratitude for this thing called life. Because you see, this thing called life is the effervescence of life. It's that ethereal thing that just is there, and we are immersed in it. We are surrounded by it. We are consumed with it. And when we begin to understand and look at it from the correct perspective, now we got something. Now we got something. And so as we start this month of December, this last month of the year of 2024, we are going to work with this theme of just that, being immersed in the divine flow. Being immersed in the divine flow. And today, we are going to just begin to peel that onion. And you know what they say about the onion. You have to peel it one layer at a time. And sometimes it'll make you cry. But it makes the food taste so good. So you don't mind the crying of tears. They're tears of joy. And so we're going to start there and look at this idea of moving from the invisible to the visible. From the invisible to the visible. Now, Dr. Holmes says in the Science of Mind textbook, right off the front, and he says this: the study of the science of mind is a study of first cause, spirit, mind, that invisible essence, that ultimate stuff and intelligence from which everything comes, the power back of creation, the thing itself. The thing itself. Now, that is what the foundation of this teaching sits on. That there's a universal cause that is in back of everything, that is mind, spirit, give it many names, but I love the way he ends that statement. He says, the thing itself. Because that way we don't get caught up into my name is better than your name and all these other things that we sometimes see in religious teachings that keeps us separated, that keeps us divided, that keeps us from not being able to see and be grateful. But when we understand this idea of that this world is an invisible, creative, energetic world, where the out expression is a direct reflection of the inward thoughts and ideas. It's that man in the mirror, that woman in the mirror effect, right? If I don't have it on the inside, there's no way possible. Well, God can do anything. But there's an uphill journey if you're trying to create something that you can't see in your mind, that you have no energetic idea about what it is. That's not hyperbole. That's a fact. That's a fact. That when you look at anything you've accomplished, anything you've done, or anything someone you admire has done, there was an idea that came before the thing itself on the physical plane. Now, we know the thing itself, the real thing itself, spirit, God, mind, intelligence, pick one that resonates with you, because it's an energetic world and there's always resonance. When you find what resonates with you, don't worry about what resonates with nobody else, because there's only one. There's one thing, indivisible, unity, togetherness, and it's invisible. Nobody has ever seen intelligence, ever. If you have, let me know, because I want to go with you to see it. But I guarantee you, we have seen the results of that invisible thing called intelligence. It showed up in your life and other people's life. That's how we got this camera working, showing it out on the internet. There is this idea. One thing that Ernest Holmes said, the very first paragraph of the Science of Mind textbook, he says, I look forward to the day that religion and science walk hand in hand from the visible, into the invisible. Now, we know by the law of correspondence that there's another statement that goes with that. And that's what we're looking at today, from the invisible to the visible. Because see, Ernest understood that we'd lost contact with that invisible. So he wanted us to go back from this tangible world that we get stuck in, and we think that that is all there is. And he wants us to go back to the invisible, where it's like, how many of y'all had Play-Doh when y'all grew up? Now, some people might be like, what the heck is Play-Doh? Or even better, silly putty. I could take silly putty, I'd take it and put it in the newspaper, and I'd have the funnies in color on my silly putty. What a concept. From an invisible idea of maybe if I just push this down, if I impress upon this invisible stuff sincerely enough, with focus, with intention, with faith, it'll transfer and we'll get that correspondence. As within, so without. As without, so within. When that happens, you begin to see that life, as the song goes, life is what you make it. You can't fake it. You can't fake life. How many times have you yourself, or you may have observed someone else, they come to you with this, I don't know, face, this, I don't know what it is, but they try to project that everything is copacetic. Everything is fine and dandy, sugar and candy. However, there's that energetic resonance that you start feeling like, something ain't right here. There's some hens and there's some foxes in the hen house, and then things aren't as good as they appear to be. That's what we have to begin to understand. This invisible world, it manifests exactly as it is created or scripted. And in the quantum world, we talk about this moving to science. In the quantum world, there's this idea called the quantum field, which again is another way of saying spirit, mind, God, this immersion place that we immerse ourselves into. And when we fully immerse with faith, things start happening. It's kind of like I'm sure everybody, my wife don't like me to say that, but I'm going to say it because I'm pretty sure it's true today. I'm sure everybody boiled some water this past weekend for mashed potatoes or macaroni and cheese or string beans or something. Everybody boiled some water. And at one point, it was just water. But then it got transformed into steam and heat and something that cooked whatever it was you were cooking. When that happens, we understand that this field, that's like us. That pot of water is a field. And when we do certain things to it, it responds. When we look at that in a certain way, it reciprocates. And so, how are you boiling your water of life? Better yet, if you're lucky enough to get it to boil, what the heck are you putting in the water? It's important, because if we don't stay in touch with that, we really lose track of what life is. Because see, life is this journey. Now get this. Life is this journey from the unseen to the seen. There was a time, and I guarantee this, everyone in here, everyone online, everyone who sees this later, there was a time when you was just, as they say, a thought or a twinkle in your mother or your father's eye. But you were invisible. You didn't quite exist on the physical plane. It was a mental plane that your parents had. And sometimes it may have been an accident, right? It wasn't even a thought, or it wasn't that thought. Let's put it that way. Well, but it came out of that invisible realm and created you, created me. And an analogy, and Ernest uses this in the teachings, this seed, soil, plant thing, this way of process, this way of creation, that, isn't it funny how they say when babies are conceived that there's a seed planted? What? I thought we planted seeds in the garden. Oh, yeah, okay, but yeah, that's another kind of seed. But the metaphor, the teachings of it says that I'm able to put something in a ground or in a fertile, creative stuff that becomes unseen, and then it becomes seen. And then it steps into the process of life. It grows, it goes up, it goes back down, it starts again. And now we get into this whole cycle of life. So when we look at this whole thing, this divine flow this month, this immersion into this, let us also just keep in the back of our mind, and we'll get to it this month, of this divine flow of how things unfold. There is no life in death. There's birth and death, which makes up this thing called life. And that's why we have these resurrection principles, however you want to look at them. I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole dissertation unto itself. But the idea that remains is that there are patterns and cycles of life that are reoccurring. And they occur on every plane: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And sometimes they don't happen at the same time. So I'm kind of limping along. I may be resurrecting physically, but mentally I am like, ooh-wee. What the heck is going on? But when we begin to look in this invisible realm, when we begin to understand that invisible realm, we don't worry about it, because we know there's the cycle going on. We look at chaos, right? I'm sure y'all seen it recently. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you did. Maybe you just felt it, or maybe you heard about it. But chaos is not what it is projected to be, this out of sync, this out of whatever. It is the birthplace of new order. That's what chaos is. It is the beginning of a new order, a new cycle, a new pattern. So as we leave 2024 and get ready to step into 2025, let's be clear that we're working with some invisible that we want to manifest in the visible. So don't go to sleep. Don't drink too much eggnog. Don't eat too much of whatever got me messed up. Definitely don't do that. But be aware of what's in your mind's eye. When we seek to understand the spiritual truths and universal principles that govern the universe, and we do it in faith, and you know what faith is, the evidence of things, what? Unseen, right? They even make it plain. They say, you know, if you got the faith of a mustard seed, I have never seen a mustard seed. Well, I guess I did once, but it is tiny, tiny. That's all you need to activate this invisible principle. I want to read this. There's a couple of verses out of James 2 in the Bible, verses 14 through 17, that talks about this thing of faith now, because we kind of understand that there's some stuff that we got to work with. And we have to work with it beyond thought. We have to have the thought first. But what comes next? Actions. Faith without deeds will perish. And this is what James says. What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can such faith save them? Suppose a brother or a sister is without clothes or food. If one says to them, go in peace, keep warm and well fed, but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? It's the same way. Faith by itself is not, if not accompanied by action, is dead. Is dead. So all the nice platitudes, you know, namaste and go in peace and all of the nice little things we say, you know, they're nice. That's, you planted a seed, but now you got to cultivate that seed for that invisible thing to grow. It's not just go. I mean, it's not like, you know, Johnny Appleseed, who was, you know, had a hole in his thing. He kept walking around and apple seeds just grew. There's some work that has to be done. And sometimes, like in the Appleseed story, the universal creative source does some of that work for you because it understands your intentions. And we'll talk about that in a minute. You have to have intentions. You can't just walk around aimlessly. Because see, what faith does, it activates this unseen stuff. It activates it. And once it gets activated, it becomes not only ready to act like the silly putty, it becomes ready to be molded into something else. And what is that something else? Infinite possibilities. That's what we talk. That when I tap into the power that is, the thing itself, the spiritual intelligence of the universe, when I tap into that, I have infinite possibilities. All things are in my hands. But I first got to have faith. Then I got to have some action. Then I got to, first and foremost, I got to do some homework. I got to study these invisible laws and get familiar with them. Because by aligning our thoughts and beliefs and actions in this truth, we're unstoppable. We're unstoppable. And you have to believe that you are unstoppable. There can't be any wavering. Now, there may be a moment of shakiness because you might have stepped on a goal or idea or vision that's a little bigger than your faith is right now, or just a little bit bigger than your homework has been. But there's infinite possibilities. You just got to change your thinking and change your life. Change your thinking and change your life. Now, and this is not wishful thinking. This is a fact. Everything you have, from your house to your apartment to your car to your clothes, started as an idea in somebody's mind. And quiet as it's kept, all those conditions weren't always joyous and happy that made them come up with whatever it is that we see in a physical plane. Sometimes it was despair. And sometimes it was tragedy and sadness, which speaks to the wholeness of life. The manifestation of God's principle and presence on the earth can come from anything at any time. The question is, are you ready? Have you done the work? It says we are made in the image and likeness of God, which means the real essence of us, like the thing itself, is invisible. And creativity or creative pursuits is our agency. That's why we're here with that invisible spirit, with the creative agency to say, how can I be my brother's keeper? If he's hungry, how do I help feed him? If he's unclothed, how do I help clothe him? Not seeking anything, but the well-being of that part of the whole, because I know once it's acting in accordance with this divine purpose and mission, the whole thing is going to work better. Think about driving your car and the brakes ain't too good this afternoon. You ain't gonna just say, oh, I hope they get better. I pray they get better. Well, and if you do, let me know what road you're traveling on, because I'm gonna be on another one. That ain't how it works. That's not how it works. So we have to stop living on the margins. Right now we live on the margins. We're caught up in this duality of life. The invisible and the visible are one thing. It's just a thin line of when you polarize and fall into one or the other. But if you get in the rhythm, you'll just swing back and forth. And if you can fine tune that rhythm, you'll get in the sweet spot. Sometimes called the zone, some called the happy place, many names for it. But that's when you have found the rhythm of life and you understand the polarity of life, and you begin to create your own vibration. We talked about this last time. We talked about how a storm or a fire creates its own weather patterns. Well, it's the same thing. When we think, we create an atmosphere. We create an atmosphere for things to happen. So how do we move forward with this knowledge and begin to raise our vibration, understand the polarity of life, and move in a way that allows us to say yes to whatever it is? The way we do that is three things. I'm going to give you three things. The first thing, we talked about it, is you have to set intentions. You have to set an intention. In Islamic teachings, it says you get what you intend, even if you don't get it done, because intentions are just that important. You have to set an intention. If you don't set an intention, you're like a ship without a rudder. You're just all over the place, right? Visioning is what we use sometimes to help with intentions. And then once we've done some visioning, we go into visualization. Two different things, right? Because vision is awakening and activating this invisible substance. We're allowing ourselves to be free, to clear up, to sit quiet, to meditate, to pray. Anything that gets us out of the way and allow that immersion to happen. But then once we've done that, once we've cleared the air, once we've stepped into that space, then we want to go into visualization. And that is the tool that imprints. It's that silly putty that puts down on the paper that brings back the image. Without that, something may happen, but it may not be exactly what you intended. That's why intentions are important. Intentions are important. And then when we set those intentions in motion, or when we state those intentions, we vision, and then we visualization, then we have to move forward as if it's so. You got to say, I know this is what the deal is. And if there's any part of you that's out of sequence, just say, shut up. Let's say, shut up. And if you won't shut up, at least be quiet for a few. Let's see what happens. Don't start digging your seeds up before they even get watered, before the sun even come out. When we do that and set these intentions, we allow a process that's already waiting. Before we said, you know, when you do this, you activate this substance. So it's waiting. It's just sitting there. Like if you was to go to a water faucet, the water faucet is just there, but the water is just waiting. Waiting for what? For you to turn it on. Because you didn't turn it on don't mean the water wasn't there or ain't there. It's waiting for you. The same thing with this world, with this life, with this teaching, with this understanding. It's waiting on you to take it from the invisible to the visible. It's waiting on you to have action, words, and deeds. It's waiting on you to cultivate the faith of a mustard seed. And when you can set intentions in that kind of atmosphere, that kind of weather pattern, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. Now, once we've set some intentions, we step into Ernest's patented statement. Change your thinking and change your life. Change your thinking and change your life. You've heard me say it once. You'll probably hear me say it 1,000 more times. If you want to keep getting what you're getting, keep doing what you're doing. If you don't change that idea, you don't change that action, you don't change that pattern, you know, stupidity, they say, is doing the same thing in the same way, expecting a different outcome. We don't want to do that. We want to change our ways. We want to, if they're not working. Now, if they're working, we want to activate them more, or at least we want to maintain them. Because thoughts and beliefs are building blocks of reality. Think about it. Thoughts and ideas and beliefs are the building blocks of reality. There's nothing in existence that didn't start from there. They shape our experience. They shape our reality. They color what we laugh at, what we cry about. There's some real deep stuff now. We got to do homework. I mean, because either we gonna sit around and complain and point fingers and talk sugar, or we gonna get something done. We gonna make a change. Ain't that what Michael Jackson said? Make a change. Now here's, I just want to say this. See, the Lord is good. There's this show, some of you may have heard of it, called The Voice. And last week, there was a young boy who's 14 who sung Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror. Go on YouTube and do a search. I forget the young man's name, but do a search for a young man who sung Man in the Mirror on The Voice. The AI will find it, trust me. But he enunciated those words so clearly. He created a vision for you to visualize what needs to happen. It's powerful, powerful. If you get an opportunity, check it out. Because that's what creates these desires and manifestations. And then when we do this, we become receptive. We create a vibration, which leads us to this next thing is, have you, are you, will you, do you activate your magnet? Not a rhetorical question. Are you activating the energetic, magnetic power that is within you, that God has given you? You can't do without it. You can't go nowhere and leave it. It's inside. It's that invisible thing. Are you activating it? Are you cultivating it? Are you taking care of it? So I want to go back and there's this statement by Albert Einstein. I skipped one of my. Oh no, go back. No, go back to Maurice. Go back to Maurice. I got carried away. Go back to Maurice. Go back one. Maurice says this: the only real voyage of discovery consists not in seeing new landscapes, but having new eyes. That's what we're talking about here. You got to get new eyes. You got to get new way of thinking, new way of doing, new way of being. And then right after that, Albert says this: imagination is everything. It is the preview of life's coming attractions. Right now, it's movie time. So we're going to see a lot of coming attractions, but are any of them going to be yours? Are you going to create your coming attractions? And so when we begin to magnetize, activate this magnet, the law responds to our mental atmosphere. Our inner beliefs attract corresponding experiences. And when we look at what David McKay says, he says this: your thoughts are the architects of your desires. Are you activating? Are you really listening? Because this is the game called life. Get on the field or get on the sideline. And if you're on the sideline, just be quiet. I mean, if you see something good, cheer. But other than that, and I ain't putting nobody down that's on the sideline. But definitely don't put no finger towards me, and I'm trying to play the game with the ups and downs and ins and outs and all that stuff that goes on. And so when we activate that magnet, we got this real famous person called Anonymous. They are a prolific writer. But this is what they say: what you think, you create. What you feel, you attract. What you imagine, you become. You attract what you are, not what you want. If you want great, then be great. This is simple, but it's hard. Why is it hard? Because first, we don't believe in the invisible. First, we don't have that faith of a mustard seed. And three, practice is like foreign, because that takes discipline and commitment. But we understand, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to set intentions. We're going to change our thinking and change our life. And then we're going to magnetize ourselves by doing this work. And doing this work. So, as we close, let's just think about what we're asking each other to do for ourselves and for one another, and for those who may not even be given a rat's rump of steel skin about what we're talking about. Because this is the work. And if we want life to be better, then we got to be better. And so, through understanding and applying these spiritual principles, from the invisible to the visible, revealing the divine patterns of creation, the universe is always responding. So don't be afraid to think, but just remember, be diligent about what you're thinking, because it will respond. And when we can align ourselves with those truths, those ideas, we become creative giants, creating joy, abundance, happiness, and a zest for life. And so with that, let us pray. Dear Heavenly Mother, Father God, the dual aspect of life, that idea that is oneness, that leaves nothing out, that understands that all things work together for the good and glory of the divine. We come today to immerse ourselves in what we've already immersed in, but we want to take a second dunk. We want to take another look at this idea called all there is, the thing itself, divine intelligence that has created everything we see and is just waiting for us to bring forth those things that we don't see. Because that is what the divine is. That is what we are. That is why we're here. And so as we just breathe that in, we allow it to marinate all the way down in our bones so that we can stand in it, so that we can be it. And so I know that that is true for me, for everyone here, for those who may hear this later, and for those who may just pick up the vibration of this idea moving through the atmosphere. That we are awakening to something new. That we are awakening to a brand new day, a new idea, another way of living. And if we do our part, the divine will do its part. And so we rest on that, and we breathe that in, and we give thanks for this idea, this moment, this time, and all the things we bring forth, knowing that it is so, and that the law is already activated. That invisible law is already working on our ideas, our vibrations, our feelings, our emotions of becoming one with the divine. And so I just release it, I let it go, and I know that it is absolutely, positively, infinitely so. And so it is, amen. And so it is, amen. And so, as always, homework, call to action. So this week, consciously practice creating from the invisible to the visible, using visualization, affirmations, and insight. Write down your vision. Speak life over it as if it is already come to pass. And then note how the universe responds and celebrates every step of manifestation. That's the homework. That's and if you didn't get it, go in. You can go to the YouTube channel or Facebook channel, and it'll be there. You can just go through it, listen to it again, whatever. But we got to do the homework. And so, to help us anchor that in, we have this affirmation for this week to help anchor that idea. I stand on solid thoughts to co-direct the flow of my life.